Looking backward in time, the Super Nintendo was perhaps the ultimate harbinger of classic JRPGs. The Final Fantasy series flourished on the console, as well as other great Squaresoft titles like Secret of Mana, Breath of Fire, and Super Mario RPG. Likewise, Enix's Dragon Quest series, though absent in the West on the Super Nintendo, was a massive success in Japan. As beloved and legendary as all of these games and other titles would become, perhaps no Super Nintendo RPG would break more boundaries or have more of an enduring legacy than the Dream Project, or, as it is better known, Chrono Trigger. Of course, the Dream Project would naturally require a dream team of developers to make this dream come true. The idea of Chrono Trigger was initially conceived in 1992 by Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi, Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii, and artist and Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama, who sought to create something that, quote, no one had done before. After being approached by Kazuhiko Aoki, who had also previously worked on the Final Fantasy series to produce the new title, the four brainstormed ideas for what the game could be. Initially planned for the Super Famicom disk drive as a new Mana game, development eventually switched to a Super Nintendo cartridge, after Nintendo cancelled its plans for the disk drive. The idea to create a game about time travel was suggested by one of the staff, an idea that scenario writer Masato Kato initially rejected. But after convening with Horii, the two eventually worked out the basic plot of the game with input from Toriyama. The idea of the main character, Chrono, being a silent protagonist was spearheaded by Horii, as well as writing the dialogue and scenarios, while Kato implemented the idea of multiple endings. Since the game's development started on the CD-ROM, the team switched to the 32-bit cartridge format, which allowed for most of their ideas involving plot and dialogue to be implemented. This also allowed for the sprite work to retain a more intricate level of detail. The basic outline of the characters were actually created by Horii, who would pass along his ideas to Toriyama, who would in turn fully flesh out these ideas through illustrations. Sakaguchi supervised the project, overseeing ideas and even directly coding the game himself. In addition to the Dream Team, Final Fantasy VI was completed during the development of Chrono Trigger, and that team was subsequently added to the staff working on the game, bringing the total to 50. Aside from Sakaguchi, Horii, and Toriyama, other notable developers working on the game included Takashi Tokita and Yoshinori Kitase as directors, Tetsuya Nomura, Akiyoshi Masuda as field graphic artists, and Yasunori Mitsuda and veteran Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu as composers. For Mitsuda, Chrono Trigger would become the very first game he composed music for, having previously worked as a sound programmer. He implemented both musical ideas he already had composed, as well as new ones, saying later, "I wanted to create music that wouldn't fit into any established genre, music of an imaginary world. The game's director, Masato Kato, was my close friend, and so I'd always talk with him about the setting and the scene before going into writing. During development, Mitsuda would fall ill, and the remaining tracks would be composed by Uematsu." After 2 years of dreaming up different ideas and another couple of years of development, Chrono Trigger would finally be released in Japan on March 11, 1995, and on August 11, 1995 in North America. It was a huge hit in Japan, and quite successful in North America, where the market for JRPGs was not nearly what it was in Japan. The game would subsequently lead to 2 sequels, the text-based adventure Radical Dreamers and Chrono Cross on the PlayStation. It would also be re-released on several systems with fully animated cutscenes, including the PlayStation and the Nintendo DS. Chrono Trigger's legacy is rivaled perhaps only by games like Final Fantasy VII and Dragon Quest III as one of the very best JRPGs of all time. It incorporated loads of ideas from both Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, as well as implementing brand new ones such as the double and triple battle techniques, triggering events that directly affect the story with multiple scenarios that the player can encounter, and allowing for a seamless transition from the field to the battles. This makes Chrono Trigger's gameplay in many ways more streamlined than traditional RPGs, without sacrificing the challenge of those games. The game's plot is really tight, engaging, and unique. The storyline's transition from scenario to scenario is virtually seamless, taking the player backward and forward through time through varied environments, and really engaging events that at no point slogs or even slows down. Each time period has its own unique atmosphere and story, varying from medieval fantasy to dystopian science fiction, and even some dark horror elements. The playable characters are also varied and each have their own unique story that are fleshed out really well both in the main plot and in various side quests that bring closure for certain story arcs. Some of these scenes can be quite emotional at times, and the player really connects with the characters in a much deeper way than what had been seen before in other RPGs. The characters also have unique abilities and traits that make each of them vital to the party, such as different magic techs, weapons, and of course, combinations of moves that the different characters can learn based upon who is in the party. The game even allows you to switch out Chrono as the main party member at a certain point, letting you choose whatever combination of characters you wish. Visually, the game is stunning, utilizing every bit of space available of the 32-bit cartridge, harnessing the power of the Super Nintendo's Mode 7, as well as some pre-rendered graphics, a leftover of the game's development on the CD-ROM. The transition of Toriyama's incredible artwork to the game into sprites is extremely well done, with the characters all oozing personality through their movements and expressions, which, coupled with the excellent writing and dialogue, really makes them feel like living, breathing characters that the player can identify with. The environments all look incredible. Everything from the whimsical, otherworldly look of the Zeal Kingdom, to the prehistoric mountains and jungles of the prehistoric era, to the dark, desolate look of the ruined future, transport the player into this world, and indeed on an epic journey through time. The battle animations are also stunning, particularly the tech moves, which just look so badass, particularly the double and triple tech moves, which just get more and more awesome as you level up and unlock different combinations of them. As you progress and fight bigger and badder enemies, the battles in turn feel even more epic and high stakes with those flashy moves at your disposal. Chrono Trigger's soundtrack is one of the very best of the entire era, and considered one of the greatest game soundtracks of all time. The musical palette is as varied as the visual one, with rock, classical, and ambient pieces, really setting the mood for the different locations and scenes. Tunes like Time Circuits, At the Bottom of Night, and the epic opening theme have become iconic in and of themselves. Mitsuda pulls out all the stops, pushing the Super Nintendo sound chip to its limit, and the tunes fit the environments incredibly well, giving the game a deeper level of atmosphere and immersion. There are many scenes where, in a game without voice acting, the music carries the emotion of the scene, which can range everywhere from epic and heart-pounding to somber and heart-wrenching. The sheer amount of music within the game was also unprecedented for its time, spanning 3 discs when it was released on CD. Overall, Chrono Trigger is a masterpiece, which really harnesses all of the best elements of JRPGs of that era, while pushing the limits of what a game can be in its unique storytelling, stunning visual and sonic palette, technical innovations, and its epic scale. It is considered by many to be one of the greatest video games of all time, and a cornerstone of the JRPGs of this era. Despite its often limited releases over the years, and relative neglect by Square Enix today, Chrono Trigger is still a benchmark title that really embodies the spirit of what talented developers can accomplish together. When the Dream Project was initially conceived all of those years ago, who could have known that the Dream Team's dream project would come true, and that its legacy as a masterpiece would forever be etched in the sands of time. Thanks everybody for checking out this video, really appreciate it. I have lots of other retro reviews that I've been doing and I'm still working on, so please check those out. Also, I hope you'll check out our friendly neighborhood Discord if you want to just get a little deeper into what this channel's all about. Until next time everybody, peace.